a few of their machines, radios, throw them into darkness for a few hours.
Fighting for our lives, must survive. 5,000 gallons of air filtration, water filtration.
Coming at you from the frozen tundra that is East Central Alberta, Canada, streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, and Odyssey. Welcome back to the workshop where we create community, find freedom, promote preparedness, and share success. I am Toolman Tim. Today is May the 23rd, 2024, and this is episode 450 of Workshop Radio. How is everyone out there? I hope you're doing as well as I am. It is great to be back in the studio. I am not BSing when I say that. Oh, wow. It feels like it has been a minute, guys, since I have been here. I did do one live in the studio Sunday night, but it was more of a laid back kind of fill you in on my story. But we are back with This Week in Prepping. I hope you enjoyed that brand new intro. That was designed by Rebecca from Red Flyer Media. The in-between stingers will have a slight polish on them, and you'll see a new outro as we finish up. And to tease the show, we also have a brand new segment. Well, it's kind of brand new. It has the same name as the old one, but it's going to be a video segment from yet another delinquent in our crazy community. So I hope you look forward to that. All right, with that, guys, I spun the big wheel and I picked out rule number 15, rule to live by. You only need to get up, or you only need to get back up one more time than you fall down. Now, this is something that you can use anywhere in life. This is something that will suit anyone really well. And if you ask my girls, they will tell you through and through that when they were learning to ride their bike, that was the rule they learned by. Every single time they would fall off their bike and have a crash and hurt themselves, they always knew the rule was, I just have to get back on for a minute, pedal, and then I can stop if I need to. But that, I'm telling you guys, having that rule in your brain, whether it's, trying to lose weight, whether it's trying to get healthy, whether it's trying to build a business, whether it's trying to create content, it will serve you so well in success. Simple as that. You only need to get back up one more time than you get knocked down. And I tell you, life will knock you down. We all know that. There are always times that folks will tear you down a notch simply because you're doing better than them and they don't like to see you succeed. So remember that. Get back up one more time and prove them all the hell wrong. So it's great to see you. Let's see who we have in the audience this evening. Oh, and one more new thing. Since I didn't have enough new moving parts this evening, I decided that we're also going to try to run this stream over on the vertical feed. So if anybody happens to come in through there, I have a second chat open next to me on this window. So we'll see how that goes. I'm quite excited about it. The YouTube has been putting a big push on the vertical live streams. And if you're wondering what the hell that is, it's okay. You don't have to know. But it is the stream, the live streams that will show up in the shorts feed. I've been getting, decent little traction on it. I tried the simulcast feed the other day from the workshop when I did the unboxing of prepper gear and things like that, and it worked smoothly. So we're going to attempt it here. So, all right, who do we have this evening? I see Digger was the first, actually. Let me slide back. Ryan Pippin was the first one. He popped in like 2 hours ago over on the vertical feed, so it's good to see him. And we have Digger over here. We have Byron Roberts, who, guys, I hope, Byron, it's okay if I show this off, but I am very proud of this. I'm not drinking tonight, but if you guys can see this, I'm going to try to, it says the Frankfurt Bourbon Society, established 2017. This was a very cherished gift that was sent to me in the mail from a good friend, Byron. So thank you, brother. So we got Byron Roberts in here this evening. We got Bud Conkle. We got Red Flyer Media, the lady who made that incredible brand new intro. Ryan Pippin, good to see you. Angie Marie, it's only been a week. Great to see you again. Beth Emily, also great to see you. And one step closer, better known as Jeremy, he sent us he delivered in person some Mexican sweets or candies. And me and the girls actually recorded it the other night. It was a hell of a time. We had a lot of fun. So you guys will get to see that video. I'm not really sure how or where I'm going to release it, but we enjoyed ourselves. Hopefully I wasn't too hard on the Mexican candies, but they were good. So, all right. So guys, with that, and there we are. Pippin says, hell, dude, that beats my, I think that's supposed to be glass etching. Nice work. Hey, we all got to start somewhere. And I'm sure yours is pretty good too, Pippin. So yeah, but it's great to be back, guys. So let's slide into the next segment here.
If anyone dies while you are kept in your fallout room, move the body to another room in the house.
The time has come. Stranger than fiction. And just because everything's live, I ran the old version of the new version, I think. So anyway, you won't see much difference. But Stranger Than Fiction, for those who are new, is where we take a look at the news, how it relates to us in the preparedness field. And we will, so let's dive in here, guys. I got a live feed. Now, if you happen to be over on the vertical feed, you're not going to be able to see my extra screen that I bring up here to show you the news stories. But let's dive in. So first off, we have one from CNBC.com. Yes, I know, CNBC.com. Did you really say that, Tim? I did. Anyway, here it is. The title is, "The Rich Are Getting Second Passports, Citing the Risk of Instability." Now, this is not something that everyone can do, and I totally understand that. But we did have Andy Higginbotham on here, who is a fellow delinquent, who did this exact thing. They did medical tourism where they went out of country. His wife gave birth in another country. I think it was a South American country. And because of that, their daughter, I don't know if it was a daughter. I don't know why I said daughter, but their daughter or son, whomever, the new baby, automatically got citizenship. And if the parents follow up with it, they will get kind of landed immigrant status. So there's some interesting, this is like the ultimate prep. This is when you have run out of all other preps. You think you've got all of your bases covered. This is something to take a look at. So anyway, it's kind of interesting. We're going to share a bit of it. We won't go too in depth with this story, but here we are. Wealthy U.S. families are increasingly applying for second citizenships and national residences as a way to hedge their financial risk. The wealthy are building these passport portfolios, collections of second, third, and sometimes fourth citizenships in case they need to flee their home country. Now, it's definitely something that we think about. Instability. I love the American system where you can, if you don't like the political climate of one state in the union, you can pick your ass up and move on to the next state in the union. So definitely an option, but this is taking that upward mobility to a whole nother level. So the wealthy are building passport portfolios. Imagine having 3 or 4 different citizenships you could have. It actually got me down the rabbit hole of looking further into what it takes to get a American citizenship for us today. And it was a little better than the investment was a little more, but the shortcut in time was a pretty good thing. Anyway, so here they said the U.S. is still a great country. It's still an amazing passport. And what they mean by that is the ability to travel, abroad and overseas. And, so it's a very flexible passport. But if I'm wealthy, I would like to hedge. And this is a guy from Henry and Partners. If I'm wealthy, I'd like to hedge against levels of volatility and uncertainty. Spoken like a true numbers guy. I'm sure John Pugliano would say the exact same thing. I'd like to hedge against levels of volatility and uncertainty. The idea of diversification is well understood by wealthy individuals around what they invest. It makes no sense to have one country of citizenship and residence when I have the ability to actually diversify that aspect of my life as well. What an interesting concept. I mean, we all know, I've heard many people say, it's great to invest in silver and gold, which it is. But if you're only invested in silver and gold, if you're only invested in Bitcoin, if you're only invested in the stock market, then you have a whole lot of you're open to a whole lot of unnecessary risk. And so in this instance here, the idea of getting a second passport kind of divides in half the political instability risk you could have. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily want to just throw my hands up and leave, but I want to tell you, if you had a second passport and a civil war or political unrest, you could just hop on the plane and say, I'm just going home, and hopefully they would listen to you. Or, in theory, it would work that way. Hey, According to Henley, the top destinations for supplemental passports among Americans are Portugal, Malta, Greece, and Italy. Portugal's Golden Visa program is especially popular since it provides a path to residency and citizenship with visa-free travel within Europe in exchange for an investment of 500,000 euros. So again, that's not an insignificant amount of money, guys. For an investment of 5,000 euros in a fund or private equity, Malta offers a golden visa for 300,000. So in other words, if you have some money, if you've built up, an entrepreneurial empire, you could go and buy yourself citizenship or at least a visa within that country. But with Malta, you become a European citizen with complete settlement rights across Europe, he said. You can live in Germany, your kids can go and study in France, and you have the right to live, work, and study throughout Europe. Really cool, hey? So just one of those things. I mean, it's not for everybody, but it's kind of cool. Look at this. Did not know that. Here we go, guys. This is why I love our community. Jeremy, one step closer, just said, El Salvador gives permanent residency if you invest 3 Bitcoin there. So what is Bitcoin worth right now? Or I don't want to guess, but anyway, that's definitely one of the lowest amounts of, upfront investment. And for them, I believe their currency is running off that. So I guess it's kind of a way of, if you had a gold-backed currency and you're willing to, I'll invest your gold in that country, that would be a way of propping up their currency. So I'm guessing that's kind of what they're working on here. What an interesting concept. For American, British, and Israeli citizens suddenly unsure if they're welcome abroad, supplementary passports provide vital flexibility, they said. So, okay, so Pippin said 67,000 for, okay, well, that's almost 200,000 when you're at 3 Bitcoin. So that's not an insignificant amount either. But if you bought 3 Bitcoin back when, a Bitcoin would buy you a Papa John's pizza, well, then you'd be laughing today now, wouldn't you? Because I think any time has had that much upward growth with their with rising global instability, holding citizenship in another country, particularly one that is considered more neutral or politically benign, now provides a valuable backup or alternative thought quite a bit. The fact that if nothing else, you would be able to make yourself more of a political gray man and diggers over getting vertical. Yeah, so I like that idea of kind of being able to be just a little more gray so that if you need to leave the country and go somewhere else and, hey, all of a sudden somebody we don't like Americans. Well, guess what? Here's an Israeli passport, or here's a German passport, or here, heaven help you, I don't know why you'd want one. Here's a Canadian passport, right? So, and Pippin says Bitcoin pizza was yesterday, 2 pizzas for almost $1 trillion USD. Crazy. So yeah, I don't know. It's one more thing to consider. It's not something that I would say, run out and get yourself a new passport. It's not, but it's a cool thought experiment to take a look and say, hey, what in my life could be diversified that I don't necessarily think about? Because, the last thing most people think about is your place of residency or a passport. So I love the idea of being able to switch it up a little bit, or again, build some resiliency into your life or your prepping plans that you wouldn't necessarily think about otherwise. So that was Americans getting second passports. Let's go on to the next one. And this one's kind of cool. I ran across this one 2 or 3, maybe 4 weeks ago, and I held on to it for quite a while because the author of the article is somebody that I'd love to get on the show at some point. I've read his book before, and this is by The Telegraph, written by Bradley Garrett. And if you haven't heard me talk about it, he wrote a book called Bunker, which is kind of a sociological look at prepping through the ages. One of the best books I've ever read, simply because, I'm kind of interested in that kind of thing anyway. But he's a really cool dude. If anybody has an in with him, I've made connections with him. He's kind of given me a go-ahead to come on the show at one point many, many moons ago, but I couldn't nail down a date with him. So if anybody wants to rattle his chain, I'd love to have the dude on. Either way, really intelligent guy. So let's dive into this one. So this is an article that he wrote just after he watched the new show Follow. And if you haven't seen it yet, I'm going to give you guys my ins and outs, my thoughts on that in Workshop Wasteland this evening. It'll be a lot of fun. I enjoyed that. So anyway, this one here, pools and parks, but no sunlight. My strange journey into the fallout bunkers of the super rich. And he definitely takes a journey underground. In the book Bunker, he did quite a bit anyway, but this one, he talks a fair bit here. So let's scroll through and hit a couple of the highlights. But Bradley says, I've spent the better part of a decade exploring and living in private bunkers all over the world as part of a long-term research project with doomsday preppers and survivalists. What initially struck me as I first watched the season of Fallout was the uncanny resemblance of those imagined spaces to places I'd actually visited in meat space. I hadn't really heard that term before, meat space, but it made me laugh. So he goes on to talk quite a bit about how much the underworld resembles the outer world or the above world. And it's kind of uncanny at times. But before we go any further, I got a shout out to Joshua. He said, oh, first time catching a live show. And first time me catching your comments on a live stream. So no, it's great to have you, Joshua. We appreciate you. All right. So the vaults of Fallout contain carnivorous communal areas with a retro future aesthetic. I can't believe I got that all out without being tongue-tied. Where functional cornfields foreground video projectors of the 1950s Nebraska horizon, replete with grain towers, fluffy clouds, and so on and so forth. So what he's talking about is in Fallout, in the very first episode, if you don't know it, they're having a wedding and they're underground, but they have this massive, almost three-dimensional projector that makes it look like cornfields underground. And it gives you a very lived-in, outdoorsy feel for something that is well under the ground and has been down there for actually centuries. He said, the weaving and braiding of horizontal lines that you see during the blue hour, the temperature in the Nebraska simulation, I thought would be perfect. Wind would be non-existent, as would insects. Citizens of Vault 33, where the series begins, move through riveted tunnel sections from one artificial atmosphere to another. He said, Bradley says, this scenario so vividly rendered in the show is one that was pitched to me in Kansas, the actual Kansas, by a doomsday prepper named Larry Hill. And again, if you haven't read this book, he goes into great detail into there. But Larry Hall, is once again, he's a prepper. And he's an entrepreneur, and he's a salesperson. So in 2008, Hall purchased an Atlas F missile silo. So anybody else out there, if you've got any insight into buying an inexpensive missile silo, I'd love to have one. But he paid $300,000 from the nuclear government. The nuclear-tipped intercontinental ballistic missile that was once housed in there had been removed, of course. What remained was a vertical canister made of 3 feet of epoxy resin, concrete stainless steel mesh, mounted on spring shock absorbers that stretched 60 meters below ground. We might call it a vault, which bears an uncanny resemblance to the vault in Fallout video games, built by the Vault Tech Corporation, he said, located somewhere in the Great Midwest Commonwealth. So again, if you can see this here, this is an underground pool with projected screens and a waterfall to make it feel like you're indoors. By 2010, Hall had transformed the 200-foot deep silo into 15-story luxury bolt hole where a community of up to 75 individuals could weather 5 years. Could you imagine? So this thing is 70 meters, 70 yards, whatever you want to call it, 200 feet underground. It's got 15 stories. It's a 15-story below-ground luxury hotel is what I'm going to call it. But it's more like a rental where you can get a condo, basically. So, you know, the top of the top could pick up one of these rooms and be safe in the interim. If something happened, they could live down there 5 years, sealed off from the world. In the meantime, residents would be carrying on their lives mostly as they did before the disaster. As we zip down 15 stories, Hall toured me around the grocery store, the cinema, the bar, the shooting range, the climbing wall, a game room, a library, a gym, an education center, a pet park, hospital, and armory. At one point, he opened a door, flipped a switch to illuminate a 50,000-gallon indoor swimming pool. How crazy is that? So to me, I mean, I would absolutely love to get a tour inside of a real bomb shelter at some point. But yeah, hasn't happened yet. But I would love, if you guys know of one that's like, you know, decommissioned. There's one in Edmonton that I can go walk around the outside of, but it has been sealed off for so many years. I'd love to get in there at some point. If they ever decide they want to tear it down, I'd pay good money to get in there and film some content before they do. On level 11, about 150 meters, and for those in freedom units, we're just going to convert to 150 yards. We visited a well-appointed, full-floor, 1,000 square meter, 1,000 square yard condo. Holy cow. So would that be 10,000 square foot apartment? It felt similar to walking into a clean, predictable hotel chain. There was a cushy white living room set and a stone electric fireplace with a flat panel TV mounted over it. How crazy is that? He said, I looked outside at one of the windows and I was shocked to see it was dark outside. He said, I instantly thought it really was. I'd been down there longer than I was. And then he realized, again, LCD TVs turned on their edge to look like windows. And then, yeah, it goes in. And he said, Bradley finishes up here. Dr. Bradley Garrett says, the term fallout is usually taken to mean nuclear fallout after an explosion. But fallout can also be taken to meaning the adverse side effects or results of a situation, which leaves me wondering what the fallout of fallout will be. And I like that as a closing thought, because really what he was saying is being able to live underground would be great. Being able to live down there and live the life you want to live would be great. But what is the true fallout of that coming out the other side? What happens to the people above ground? What happens to the humanity of the people below ground? I really don't know. It would be, I don't know of an experiment of people living underground for multiple years in an enclosed. I know they used to do those biodomes and stuff like the cheesy Pauly Shore movies were based off of, or Pauly Shore movie. There definitely wasn't a sequel. At least I hope there wasn't. But definitely something to check out. I love it. The full article. So in case anybody wants to know, I give you just the high points of these articles. But if you're looking for the full article, links to everything will be in the show notes tonight. Actually, they're already there, so you can pull them up at any point. Let's take a peek back to the comments here. And said one step closer, said you could make one hell of a hydroponic system down there. Yep. Also says, what? No dungeon? And Joshua says 3 BTC, Bitcoin, of course, is 180,000 US dollars. So for those, if you want me to convert it, that would be around 4.5 million Canadian. Just kidding. But however, I did come back and I was paying about $3 a gallon gas in Tennessee. And when I got back to Alberta, converted with American dollars, is now around $4.50 a gallon up here. The price per liter went up by about 20 cents. So somewhere between 80 cents and $1 per gallon it went up here while I was gone. Absolutely miserable. All right, let's get on to the third and final article. And this one's a little shorter, but you guys might remember this from last year. This is one of the things that really got me started into some of this this week in prepping. So I don't know if you guys remember a really scary map from last year, and it had a long red streak right down the middle, kind of went down through the Midwest and down into Texas. And the entire, North American kind of community was losing their ever-loving minds about this time last year, because the news put out this map that said the infrastructure of electricity was going to collapse because problems. And everybody said, oh my God, this is the end of the world. What do I need to do? And I said, well, first off, just, be prepared. It's one of those things that if you actually dig into the report, it's something they do every year. They do a report on it every year. And last year, there was a couple of key areas that were needing repair that could have been bad if things went sideways. So it was something to be prepared for. Now, it turned out to be a nothing burger. But again, they're beating that dead horse this year, and they're trying to, here's the scary report. This is a report that's put out every year. I did see when I was setting up my live stream for Rumble tonight, there was somebody on there whose whole live stream this evening was basically the power grid is going to collapse because of overuse this summer. And I was like, please don't, you're doing everybody a disservice to try to scare the shit out of people. Is it always a possibility? Sure, it's a possibility. It's a possibility that 2 weekends ago when I was at Nate and Aaron's, the CME could have completely destroyed all modern communications. But guess what? The sun come up the next day. It's a very unlikely possibility. Is this something to worry about? No. Is it something to be aware about? Yes. So let's dive in. Parts of the U.S. could face energy shortages and blackouts this summer. Yep. every summer, that is a possibility. But if you take a look at the map here, you'll see, if you can, I guess, yeah, you can't really see my mouse there. It's pretty small, but you get, that is Saskatchewan and British Columbia up here, who has high, elevated risk, not high risk. And then along the southwest, you've got California, Texas, parts of Texas, and a few other little pieces of states, and a little bit on New England. So the idea is, this is a report that's released each year to let you know what shape is the electric grid in? Is it doing better than it was last year? Are there any potential shortfalls, shortcomings that could happen? So it's just something to be aware of. From now on, I'm going to catch it every year, but this article was in Google News and they said, hey, scary, scary. And I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't nearly as bad as last year. Why are we even talking about this? So scroll down a little bit and you'll see, here we go. The chances of blackouts in 2024. Now, here's where it starts. There are fewer affected areas than last year's summer reliability report. The steady addition of renewable energy sources like solar and wind to the power grid has helped meet the power demand in some areas of the U.S. Awesome. I read an article the other day that was talking about solar uptake, and I believe solar was expected to overtake wind and hydro in the next 10 years, and eventually, or maybe it was wind and nuclear. Anyway, by 2035, 2040, solar was going to be our biggest power generator in the US. It was, I say ours, but anyway, yeah. So an interesting concept. I love solar. I mean, the biggest problem with solar, of course, is it's not on demand. You need storage, but I feel like we're starting to solve a little bit of this. We'll see where it goes. So utility scale battery resources have also helped contribute to higher on-peak reserve margins during hours of peak demand. Because again, we get all bent out of shape. How are they going to fix these problems? Well, we've always managed to fix problems in the past, and I'm pretty confident that us as humanity can figure this kind of shit out as we go. Now, here we go. The grid is at a risk for different reasons in different places. Imagine that. Sounds like they're padding their paragraphs here. Retirement of natural gas-powered generators in New England could lead to less power capacity. I'm not sure why they're retiring natural gas, but my guess is probably environmental legislation, or maybe they've just phased out for life. Insufficient solar output and wind output during hours of peak demand might also pose some reliability issues in Texas, California, the Southwest, and mid-continental states. Here we go. Extreme heat waves make transmitting power from other areas difficult. Yes, we know that. Power outages. Here we go. This is kind of neat. I liked hearing this, but power outages have been more common in recent years. They're down from their peak in 2020. In 2022, the most recent year available with data, the average American household had their electricity interrupted for 5.5 hours. That's not a lot of time when you think about it. Now, some people, it's a lot worse than that, but half the entire country had less than 5.5 hours of power outage last year. Over half of those hours were due to major events, typically extreme weather. Now, this report focuses on the risk of demand outstripping the power supply. Air conditioning can represent major demand on the grid. Yes, it can. This is where we get into, how do you want to put it? Some speculation, I guess. So air conditioning can represent major demand on the grid, and the need for AC is only increasing. Here we go. April 2024 was the hottest April ever recorded. Because anyway, I'm not even going to get into it, guys. I get so mad. And the 11th record-setting month in a row. It's likely that 2024 will be hotter than the historical average after 2023 was the hottest year humans have ever seen. It's likely it will be, unless it isn't, and then we'll forget that we said this. Because every single article that we watch in here, you know what they blame. Constant. All right. So anyway, that's really what it comes down to. I just wanted to, show you guys that you're probably going to hear some fear mongering coming out of this article over the next little while from different sources, both from within the prepper sphere and from without. And just remember, it's a lot better than it was last year. And last year turned out to be a nothing burger. I don't mean don't be prepared, but I mean don't lose any sleep over something like this with a few little orange dots on a map. And look who we have in this evening. Just chatted with him the other day. Lone Canadian. Sorry I'm late, doing Duracoat on a rifle for the daughter. That sounds like fun. Real life is always, anyway. Sometimes people complain about, apologize for being late to the lives. I'm never going to tell you to don't apologize. Live your life. I'm always here. My recordings will be here for in perpetuity or until YouTube decides to, I don't know, implode or take them down or something like that. Hey, Sam Russell. I do believe I've seen Sam doing quite a bit of content the last little while, and I think it's around health and fitness or getting in shape, something along those lines, but it's good to see you, Sam. My daughters still talk about you. They loved seeing you and what you like to carry around at certain events we've been to, so it's good to see you, brother. All right, so let's slide on in to our next segment.
He's dead. They're all dead. Everyone. You and I are in a dead one. And I'm glad it's dead. Honky tonk of a world.
Coming up next is Wasteland. And there we are. I hope you liked that one. That one was, I designed these little stingers, and Rebecca definitely shined them up for me. So thank you, Rebecca. I appreciate it. So Workshop Wasteland, that is where we talk about popular culture surrounding around dystopian, post-apocalyptic, and apocalyptic kind of fiction. So whether that's music, video games, movies, whatever happens to be interesting, we try to tie in some prepper lessons while we're at it. But yeah, we do what we do. Real quick, I'm going to pop back to the comments here. Sam says, I went training with Sonny Pazakis and I'm going back in September, have to practice some push-ups. Man, I won't lie. When I interviewed that man, I was tempted to set something up with him, and I was also scared shitless. So you are doing one hell of a thing, Sam. I can't wait to hear about how it goes. Good for you, brother. Okay, so tonight we are going to talk about the Fallout TV series. There should be nothing else out there right now that is more apropos to us preppers than the Fallout TV show. If you haven't seen it yet, I'm going to avoid spoilers the best I can, but I'm going to fill you in a little bit. First off, if you guys know how Rotten Tomatoes works, 117 reviews from top critics, and it has a 93%. So yeah, it's definitely rated quite well with the reviewers out there. So I just wrote down my thoughts as I went along. Becky and I finished up the last 2 or 3 episodes last night. It took us from, I'm trying to think when we watched, I believe we first watched the very first episode the night after Mountain Readiness in North Carolina, and then worked our way through it as we traveled back the countryside. And then we finished up the last 4 or 5 when we got home. So we're going to talk about this. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. Feel free to type them out for anybody who's seen them. Again, I'm going to do this as spoiler free, but here are my thoughts and review on the Fallout series. So here you go. I'm going to get this out of the way real quick. I liked it a lot. I liked it a lot, but I didn't love it. Okay. So what didn't I love about it? Let's get that out of the way first. And you might laugh or you might slap me when I say this. The humor was just too damn juvenile. Okay. I know the humor is juvenile. I get that. It was just a little too, and that is saying something for me who lives and dies by dad jokes. Some of the jokes just fell flat for me. They felt like they were, 14-year-old boys just throwing jokes at a wall to see what stuck. That's all. There you go. The main bad guy's motivations, and that is the character played by Walter Goggins, weren't as clear as I would have liked them. I'm being picky, but this is supposed to be a premiere show. This was not The Last of Us. I loved The Last of Us. It was one of my favorite shows of last year, but this was still good. But more than the motivations of him in the present, his motivations in the past during the flashbacks, I had a hard time with. And this is no slam on his acting, because you will hear how much I thought of him. He is a great actor. It had nothing to do with him. It was all about the writing when it came down to why he made certain choices he made in the past. I'm not going to go beyond that because I don't want to ruin it for you. The first half of the season, okay, let's put it this way. The premiere, the very first episode, absolutely incredible. The next 3 to 4 episodes fell completely flat, and then they made up for it in the last 4 episodes. The first episode and the last half were awesome. The 3 or 4 in the middle, just I don't want to say they were filler because they weren't. They were important to the story, but they just fell a little bit flat. Okay, so there is what I didn't like about it. Now let's get into what I really did like. So yes, what I loved. I thought all three main actors were perfectly cast for what they did. Lucy, I loved her. I didn't realize I had seen her before. She is in, what was that? The movie, it was not City of the Dead, but it was the Las Vegas zombie movie that Zack Snyder did for Netflix a couple of years ago. She was one of the main actors in that. So I had seen her before, but she was absolutely perfect as the not ditzy, incredibly smart, but naive, because she grew up literally with her head buried in the sand, below ground. So Lucy was awesome. Maximus of the three main actors would probably be the one that I liked the least, but it was because he didn't get as much to do with his screen time as some of the other ones did. He's the dude that wore the big mech suits, and I'm not going to be able to remember all of the proper terminology, but Cooper, he was the main baddie, and he was done by Walter Goggins. And I could sit and listen to Walter Goggins read a phone book. That dude is just, he is an underappreciated actor. He was so good. Thank you, Lone Canadian. Army of the Dead, Zombies in Vegas. That's it right there. Yes. And oh my goodness. So, and again, so I hope you guys enjoy this review, because this is done by a person who hasn't played the video games. His son has, and by that very nature, it means I've kind of, I've through osmosis brought a little bit of knowledge to the table, but not a whole hell of a lot. Okay. The violence was over the top. And I mean that in the best way possible. To me, I know it's hard to reconcile. The humor was juvenile, but the violence was incredible because the violence was funny. But let's just leave it at that. I thought Lucy and Maximus, that's the main guy who wore the mech suit, and Lucy, the main protagonist, I thought they had great chemistry, especially once they were on the road together for a bit. I really enjoyed their kind of relationship arc for sure. The world building was incredible. Everything looked lived in and dirty and broke up. And the fact they used bottle caps for currency, I know that's from the game, and the Nuka-Cola. There was just so much. And I know there were so many inside jokes I missed because I'm not one that played it. But so the world building was excellent. The storytelling was so good. Like I said, it got a little flat in the middle, but at the end, there was episode 8 was a masterclass in writing. I felt they brought all of the disparate plot threads together, and they told them without falling into the trap of complete exposition of a character just doing an exposition dump all over the script. Okay. It still has to happen, but the reveals were satisfying. It felt like if they ended the series there, they could, but they definitely set it up for another one. The soundtrack was solid, and it got even more solid as the show went on. I felt like they picked the best, or they saved the best songs for the last half of the show. And honestly, I felt like you could really split the series in the middle. If you forget about the premiere, the second half was far superior to the first half. So anyway, like I said, first episode, incredible. I honestly, here's a thought that maybe not everybody will say. I loved the stuff from the past. I actually enjoyed the scenes, the flashback scenes, more than the show itself. And I really liked the show, but I would love to see an entire show done as a prequel, following Walter Goggins around as he kind of discovers some things that I don't want to spoil for some people. So I really thought that the flashbacks were great. His tension and his connection with his wife, so good. But man, I'm telling you, Walter Goggins, he's such a good actor. I put down in my notes here, Walter Goggins steals the show every single time he's on the screen. And I feel like he was better as the 1950s or 1940s style movie star than the noseless creature in the present. And that's no slam on his portrayal of the noseless bad guy as the show goes on. But man, he was so good as that kind of almost washed up Western star that was still pretty popular. It was awesome. Also, the CGI guys was incredible. It never got distracting. It never showed its poor quality. They put some work into that. So those are my thoughts on the show. Like I said, I really, 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 really liked it. I just didn't love it. It was just too many times. There was just too many times where I was like looking at my phone or wondering what time it was. There was just enough in the middle that got flat. And they never had a throwaway episode. They just couldn't quite keep the momentum going. So yeah, there's my thoughts. I know we went a little longer in Workshop Wasteland this time, but it is what it is. So we got a lot of comments in the audience here. So let's take a look. I can tell there's a lot of Fallout fans here, and we're going to go through them quick, and we're going to get them. One Step Closer said it was good. I like most of it, but one of the main characters was really flat. He also says Walter Goggins is the man. Yes, he is. And Cabot, good to see you in here. Walter is the man, great and justified. Absolutely. Sam Russell said, I love the show. I played Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 4 a bunch. Very cool. Lone Canadian, Walter Goggins is always good, but other than him, there weren't really any characters that I liked or even cared about. That's fair. I see where you're coming from. One Step liked the Lucy character. I thought she was great. Lone Canadian said, we got that one already. Sam Russell said, in the game, Lucy would have had a high luck stat. Yes, I believe that. Also, something I didn't mention, but Lucy's character transformation over the 8 episodes was really well done as well. Again, she went from a naive, very friendly, very trusting, too trusting at times, where I'd be like hollering at the screen. And it took a while to get there. But by the end of the season, she's a bit of a badass. She's a broken badass, but a badass nonetheless. One Step says lots of Easter eggs for anyone who played the game. The humor and violence come from the games. Totally get it. One Step said Lucy's dad had a great story. Kyle MacLachlan, he is an actor that I could take or leave. He's famous for Twin Peaks. What else? Showgirls. And one of my favorite movies, Trigger Effect. And he was good in Trigger Effect. Actually, he's really good in Trigger Effect. But his acting is different. I don't know. It's hard to quite put your finger on what it is about him, but he's a little bit vanilla, I guess, maybe. Sam Russell said it's the same soundtrack as in the games. It's great. And I'm wondering if they can find a way to make Walter's character the main character in the New Vegas game. That would be awesome. Somebody said they messed up by not having Ron Perlman do the intro for the games. I didn't know that. One Step says war never changes. I saved right now 2 quotes from the show. I'm always looking for interesting sound bites that I could turn into stuff for the, for the kind of teaser clips within the podcast. So there was some really good quotes from this show. 2 people put up war never changes. And Wired Edge Workshop, great to see you. He said, I made it just in time to hear about Fallout. I liked the flashbacks in the past as well. Loved them. Absolutely. There was episode 6, I think it was. I thought it was going to be a bottle episode where they just followed him in the past the whole time, because they did a cold open that went on for 10 or 15 minutes before they kind of introed the show. And it was perfect. It gives you so much backstory of it. So anyway, that's it. There's so much post-apocalyptic pop culture that we could talk about this week, but I had to land on this one right here. Fallout was, I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad I could share my thoughts with you. And Lone Canadian says, never trust the government. Absolutely. And I would say further than that, boy, there's a big slam on big business toward the end of this movie show too. So there you go. A little bit of both. I guess we could call it, it's an oligarch-ish look at the government, fascism, where government and big business are in bed together. Oh man. Anyway, yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. So next we have for you guys, this is going to be a good one. Actually, this is a brand new segment with an old name, and it's kind of the same, but it's totally different. What the hell are you talking about, Tim? All right. So this is going to be our new look at Cookbook of the Collapse. I started doing that earlier this year, and it was moderately successful, where I did get a few, submissions from the community who said, hey, we'd love to share some recipes with you. Well, if you guys know Thesia, and she goes by Grandma's Homestead on YouTube, her and I used to be on a collaborating podcast many moons ago called Fireside Freedom, and it was a lot of fun. Anyway, we got to be good friends, and we've chatted. She reached out to me just before I went on my gallivant around the countryside, and she said, hey, I would love to do a video version of Cookbook of the Collapse. And what that is where we talk about how to cook from our preps and from our pantry. And so she started with, we always talk about when you get tired of beans and rice, well, you can always switch to rice and beans, right? So she came back and she recorded a video, Easy Beans and Rice, Cooking from Your Pantry. So we're going to take a look at that. It was she's going to do this segment monthly for us. I'm really excited. I haven't decided what time of the month we're going to do it yet. So without further ado, let's get into this. We're just going to make sure we got all of our audio working for you guys, and let's give it a listen.
Welcome to Grandma's Homestead. All right, now some of you know that I've been trying to do a series on Are You Ready for the Next Great Depression?
As a disabled business owner, my time is mostly spent.
And just like that, we get an ad as we start the video. I'm going to have to figure out a new way to download this. So here we go.
And I've decided at the same time that I'm doing that, I want there are things when we eat every day. So I want to learn to teach you some recipes on what to cook. They always tell you rice and beans and beans and rice. Well, how do you keep it from being such a terrible thing, to eating it day in and day out, and what you can do to make it better? Today, we're going to start out with the basic recipe of red beans and rice, and we're going to try to do as much of it from our pantry as possible, so that today I am going to use a real onion, but if you don't have a real onion and you've got dehydrated onion, then you know to use that instead. So I've already started with my rice, and it's cooking now. And while it's cooking, we're going to be chopping up our vegetables and getting other things ready. I've got 3 cups of water going with a little bit of olive oil. Sometimes I use butter, and I still need to put a pinch of salt in there. I've got 1.5 cups of rice, and when that gets hot enough, I'm going to add the rice and stir it, and it's going to cook for 15 minutes, and that's all I'm going to need to do for the rice. Well, I'm going to put a lid on it, turn it way down, and put a lid on it, and let that go for 15 minutes. So while that's going, I'm going to chop my onion. I've got this is bone broth that I do. It tells you, the recipe tells you can use vegetable stock or any sort of bone broth, diced tomatoes, red beans, and mixed vegetables. And you go, what? And some different, this is something that some people don't pay attention to when they're getting their pantry together. What are the spices, the herbs and spices that you use to cook with? You need to have those in your pantry also. So this does ask for chili powder, ground cumin, and ground coriander. So we're going to do that. Now I'm doing the mixed vegetables. The recipe calls for diced carrots, diced celery, and jalapeno. And so instead of doing diced carrots and diced, and then later on it asks for some corn too. Well, this has got some green beans and corn and some carrots in it. It's not exactly the vegetables that the recipe calls for, but this is what's in my pantry, and this will all come together for a nice red beans and rice that you can make. The vast majority, if you think about it, the only thing that's not in your pantry, and this can come from your pantry, if you buy broth at the store, you can do that. So right now, this is the only thing that has not come from my pantry that I will use. But like I said, you can use dehydrated. And then the jalapenos, the recipe does call for jalapeno. You can do without that. You can find some other, you can put a different spice in it to make up for the jalapeno. But today, my husband likes jalapenos, and we're going to put that in. So that's what we've got going. All right, while my rice is going, I've already got my onions chopped up. And because we are dealing with pantry stuff, I like to use butter, but today we're going to use olive oil because this is something that you can put in your pantry. Put the chopped onion in here. We want to get this all kind of cooked down, kind of on a pretty low heat. Cook it down. Put some salt in it and let that go in a lower heat for a little while. We're going to let the onions cook down and let the rice cook, and then we'll start throwing everything together. All right, now this is where I go way off the track, but I'm making dinner for my husband, and he likes meat. Okay, so we got the onions, and we've got them down where they're pretty kind of translucent. We are meat eaters, so I did pull some sausage out of the refrigerator, the freezer, and thawed it. I have some leftover breakfast sausage that I need to use up, and then I've got some leftover chicken meat from another meal that needs to be used up too. And I'm going to throw these in with it now. Well, I'm especially going to put the sausage in there so it can start browning. Okay, my rice is done. This is sauteed up a little bit. Let's do our spices. For the chili powder, it wants 2 teaspoons. I'm just going to eyeball it. For the cumin, a tablespoon. For the coriander, it's a tablespoon. So those are my spices. We'll probably do salt and pepper at our taste here in a few minutes. Let's go ahead and get this stirred in. Let's go ahead and get some liquid in there. That's the diced tomatoes. And you know what? They always tell you to rinse the beans. I don't care. Just dump them in there. It's got a little bit of juice. I don't want to rinse off all the flavor. Get some broth in there. And let's get this all stirred together. All right, now let's add the jalapeno and the chicken and the sausage. That's going to be nice and meaty. Stir that together. Now let's add our rice. That ends up making 3 cups of rice. This is going to be a nice hearty meal. Like I said, you can do the vegetarian. You don't have to add the meat. Most of the rest of this, except for the onion, has come from your pantry. All right, now we get the vegetables. Remember I said it asked for carrots and it asked for corn. We're just going to do the can of vegetables straight out of our pantry. Ooh, looks like I should have used a bigger pot. We'll let this go for a little bit longer. Let everything heat through. That's what's nice too. Everything's already cooked, so you don't have to do anything anymore cooking. I'm going to put a little bit more broth in it, and then we'll taste it. So we'll just kind of let this warm through and see how it turns out. All right, guys, I added just a touch of cayenne to it to give it a little bit more flavor, a little bit more salt, and just a little bit more of the broth. If you look, this is how much broth I used. Was that about 1.5 cups, maybe 2 cups of broth to put this whole thing together? And this is a wonderful red beans and rice. Like I said, I cheated with the meat, but even then, okay, so the smoked sausage did come out of the freezer, but the breakfast sausage and the chicken came from leftover meat from another meal, and this is everything else except the onion came out of my pantry. This is a good way to get started. Play with your recipes, have a good time. This will be good. Happy eating.
So what'd you guys think of that? I loved it. Thank you, Thesia, for doing this. This was, what a hell of a great, this is what I enjoy, are these segments. So I've put it out to the community a few times that if you're interested in making a submission or on a regular ongoing kind of way, then let me know. Send something to me. Say, hey, Tim, I would love to do something like this. Kind of pitch me. Say, this is what I'd like to do. And this is how often I can commit to doing it. That's the big thing, is just having a weekly or monthly commitment for it. So that's what I'm looking for. And so I hope you enjoyed that. So Thesia reached out and said, I'd love to turn some of your recipes into videos so that she'd have the content. So number 1, follow Grandma's Homestead. All of the links are tonight. So she's in there. And then later on, we got a segment from Willow, the Sunshine Prepper. So make sure you follow these folks, because they are putting their time into creating something for our community. So thank them by giving them a subscribe, because that's all it costs, a single subscribe. And that ain't very expensive now, is it? So anyway, that was great. She's the expert on cooking. So let's leave it at that, guys. So with that, let's slide on in to our very next segment. I read it on the internet. And that is, for those who don't know, let me bring it in here and show you. So we're going to share. This is, anybody who doesn't regularly surf the interwebs might not know what Reddit is, but Reddit is the place that they used to call it the front page of the internet. I don't know if it's still that, but it's really a bit like an old-fashioned message board with thousands and millions of users every single day. And over there is a group called Our Preppers, and that is where I get some really interesting show ideas. It's where you can interact with folks over there. And so what I do is each week I go into Our Preppers and I pick one of the top trending article/conversation pieces from the last week, and I come in here and I share it with you. So here we are. This is a good one. And I always try to give credit where credit is due. This was done by a Mr. Zombie. So here we go. Some people want the end of the world. Yes, I've heard that before. I've been on this subreddit for a couple of years, and I've noticed a weird thing in some of my chats with people on this sub. Some people want the end of the world as we know it, like genuinely would like an event like a solar flare to take out power just so they can use their preps to do whatever they like. Not in a bad way, like kill people. I think they just want to quit their jobs and live off the land and have everything go back to the Middle Ages or something. And for everyone to do the same. It's very weird. The short version is some people want the world at the end, and it kind of weirds me out, but that's okay. So yes, we all kind of joke sometimes, and I don't mean that, who hasn't said or who hasn't thought someday, you're at work and you're like, man, if the balloon went up and all the power stopped working tomorrow, I wouldn't have to pay my mortgage anymore. I wouldn't have to deal with this dickhole of a boss. I wouldn't have to deal with a lot of things. Sure, people say that in jest, but I think when it comes down to it, at least I hope that most people wouldn't want to live through a collapse. I think it would be absolute hell on earth at times for folks. And I think we've seen it in modern times in certain countries, but just an interesting thought. And they're not wrong that there is a sentiment within, kind of the fringe or edge of some prepper communities that are definitely like, hey, I'd love to see it. So user Think Official Sav said, I think it's because we lack purpose. We don't have to survive like we used to. I think this is the reason for the popularity of entertainment like The Walking Dead. We think we're evolved, but deep down we're still animals. If shit hit the fan, we'd have a purpose. Make it to tomorrow. And I like that. They're not wrong. I think that's a big portion of it, is that even some folks within the prepper community are just kind of wandering around aimlessly. They haven't found their purpose in life, is prepping a purpose? I think more than that, I think prepping is a way to protect your purpose, and, whether it's through money or health or family. But an aimless person is a dangerous person. And a bored person, what do they say? Idle hands are the devil's workshop. And I think that's kind of what they're coming down to here, is that as a human, no matter what you're doing, no matter at what level you're on of, the hierarchy of needs, whether it's self-actualization or just looking for oxygen, you have a purpose. And if you don't have a purpose, you're in a bad way. This Total War Wiser said, indeed, I think too many people feel trapped inside modern civilization, where they either don't have the personality to thrive inside it, or they were dealt the wrong hand economically, physically, or socially. The thing is that for current civilization to fall and reach a new and more simple way of being would require a lot of death and suffering. And the survivors would need more than anything a huge deal of luck. Again, I don't disagree. I want to say that when he says they were dealt the wrong hand economically, physically, or socially, I think you're embracing your lack of purpose at that point, because I would say that your purpose in life is to move above whatever station you were born into. So, that's the beauty of having purpose is, that's what gets me out of bed in the morning. That's what gets Becky out of bed in the morning. That's what makes anybody else out there, hopefully, who wants to be successful and live a life, whatever your purpose is, should get you out of bed in the morning and should put those 2 feet on the ground. And if you don't have that purpose, I bet you'd love to see things collapse, because at least then the purpose would be forced upon you. And I don't know if that's better or worse. It's definitely worse. I'm just being facetious here. And Spinal King, what a name, says, I've heard that too, that some people wish for a Walking Dead scenario so they can escape their lives and be free. Statistically speaking, they're most likely to be dead or zombies. So it's a fantasy that's biased towards survival. And it's not The Walking Dead they should study as a survival field guide. It's probably The Road. Not sure anyone has The Road as their escapist fantasy. I like that. If you haven't seen The Road, don't watch it. I've watched it once. I don't think I could bring myself to watch it again. It's one of the very few movies that have really just made me sick. And I don't mean that in like it's an awful movie. It's a very effective movie in the way it is, but man, it is a depressing film. So yeah, I guess this week's segment of I Read It on the Internet could be titled Be Careful What You Wish For, because that's what it comes down to. We love to joke about it. We love to talk about it. Probably, obviously, even fantasize a bit about it, because we watch movies, play games, read books. But when it comes down to that, summed up perfectly in the community right here by Hardway, Alaska, if they want to live like that, move to a third world country. because that's where you're going to find that exact thing. And then you might realize, shit, trying to decide between a grande and a venti at Starbucks is a hell of a lot better than deciding whether I should drink that water on the ground or not. So there you go. All right. So our next segment is
Nothing like eating under an open sky, even if it is radioactive.
dropping the dime on precious metals. All right, so this week's segment is a shameless plug. No, not really, but this is the Precious Metals Report. The name came up from Byron Roberts, which was absolutely great. And so if you haven't heard yet, we are launching the latest workshop, Toolman Tim's Workshop Silver Round. This one is the first in the long anticipated, long talked about Modern Apocalypse series. I have at least 4 in the bag that I'm going to work on down the road. But this very first one is very apropos because we are right now, 25 years ago, we were preparing for the Millennium Bug, the Y2K bug, the end of civilization as we know it. So in order to commemorate that fun time, I have commissioned from Curio Bullion, the same guy that did our last 2 sets of coins, a 1 ounce silver round with the Y2K. It says Y2K in a very, kind of 1990s font, and it has 1 second before midnight there. So, and on the back, it's going to be a TT with hammers on it. It's going to be a maker's mark. It's going to have the year on it, and we're limiting it to 50 coins. And I think we've sold 12 or 13. Now, here's the thing. The link will be in the description tonight. They're $70 a round. And with that round, you get a 1 ounce silver. You get a matching patch that this will be the only place that you get it. There will only be 50 of them printed. You won't be able to get any more, and you'll get free shipping included. This is the pre-order. Once May 31st comes around, the price will then go up to $80. So anyway, for anybody who's willing to put their money where their mouth is and support this project each time, it's always sold out. I've been excited to do it. This is a little different. We usually do 1 ounce and a ½ ounce for a little more money. So I decided to try to do my best. It was kind of funny. We priced everything, and then we decided, and then I sent the money to the guy to order the silver, and then silver took a massive jump. So the retail price on this isn't horrible when you figure in the amount of the crafting that goes in on the other end, the shipping and the whole works. So I'm excited about it. I can't wait to see the first coin come in. We've been working on this behind the scenes for a while. And also, if you're interested, we're going to be doing one more run of silver just before Christmas coming up with the workshop coins, because we're going to do a workshop coin every single year as well. So there you go. If you're interested, take a look, grab the link, order them. I can also do Bitcoin or Lightning or PayPal. Well, PayPal you do right here through the Shopify link. But if you want to do Bitcoin or Lightning, let me know, and I will send you a link for that. But thanks to everybody who's bought them already. They have been going faster than I expected. So, all right. And then we got one more quick thing in the Precious Metals Report. I don't know if I'm going to have to split this show into 2 nights going forward at some point. I'm not sure. We'll see. But I love doing it. And it always seems like I have more content for you guys than can be fit into one little show. One of the old pastors I learned how to speak from, he told me that a good rule of thumb is the mind can only absorb what the ass can endure. In other words, once you start getting uncomfortable, people check out. So Lone Canadian says, in many ways, prepping has become the escapism that men's adventure books of the 80s, Mac Bolan or the Harlequin books were. Yes, not wrong at all. I heard somebody say the other day that prepping is just a hobby that some people take a little too serious. And, I can kind of live with that. I'm cool with that. I mean, this is probably the only hobby that I've ever kept, or it's not really a hobby, but a lifestyle that I've kept for my entire adult life. I go from interest to interest, but I filter all my interests through the lens of preparedness, and I enjoy that. So I hope other folks do too. But I just wanted to, I'm just going to brush over this a little bit for you. But this is a website from the United States Gold Bureau, and it's all about taxes on precious metals purchased by state. And this came up because there is quite a movement in the U.S. right now to eliminate income tax or sales tax. Income tax from realized gains from the, from the cost or the worth of silver and gold going forward, and also to eliminate sales tax on metal, precious metals, which I thought was great. I didn't realize you had to pay sales tax in some places. But so if you want to look this up, you can check what your rules are. But if you look here, there's about half of the U.S. states do not charge sales tax for precious metals. But I just highlighted a couple different states here that kind of surprised me. Well, sorry, California didn't surprise me at all. But the reason I wanted to quickly highlight this was if you're looking at buying some, precious metals in the near future, there's certain ways that you could do it so that you don't get stuck with that extra cost of sales tax. So here it is. California has a 7.5% sales tax on bullion coins and bars. However, California has a statewide exemption on precious metals purchases above $1,500. This means that investors who buy more than an ounce of gold or silver from one dealer, I think they got that wrong. This means that investors who buy more than an ounce of gold from one dealer will not need to pay any tax. So in other words, here's what I would do. Because again, margins on gold and silver are pretty thin. So if you can save up to whatever your tax threshold is, then you can buy yourself just a little extra silver for the same amount of money. L2 Survive, great to see you. I'm not going to be we actually met last year at the Thrivalist Fair in Addy, Washington. I'm not going to be there, but it's this weekend coming for anybody who wants to go. If you look Thrivalist Fair up on Google, you'll be able to, I'm sure tickets are still available, but a fellow delinquent, Ryan Buford, he goes by the moniker of Prepper Dad, and his son Colin are going to be there doing presentations. So give them some support. They're great people. I just couldn't make this event swing after a 57-day road trip. So you would think if California has some shitty rules on precious metals, Florida would be better. Well, not really. Florida State's, it's a little better. Florida State sales tax rate is 6%, but local municipalities add another 1% to 2% on average. So you're looking at about a sales tax on par with California there, I guess. But if you buy precious metals totaling over $500, you're exempt from all taxes. All U.S. legal tender, including items like silver eagles and other products minted by the U.S. Mint, qualify for tax exemption. Foreign coins are sold above face value, so they're taxable. So in other words, save up and buy it in a lump sum if you can do it so that you don't pay that extra 5 to 10% that you don't need to pay. Simple as that. That's it for this week on Dropping the Dime. So I hope you guys enjoyed that one. All right. From here, we are going to go into this week in the workshop. And I kind of did that on Sunday evening. I give you guys a bit of a rundown on what I did on my 2-month road trip. Had a hell of a time. We won't touch much on that, but I've been a busy beaver since I got back, doing a whole bunch of projects. And again, why do we do this? Well, hopefully for inspiration and accountability. I love to share with you guys what I'm doing so that I can say, hey, look what I've done, because I could just as easily not be doing anything. And also, it's a good way for us to interact and get ideas on projects. But while I was gone, our 10, now 11 little escape artists on a couple of occasions managed to burrow their way underneath the fence and get out. So I've been knowing for a while, my first project when I come back was the retaining wall I've been planning. And so I built if you've never seen Stackstone, it's a lot of fun. I had a hell of a time doing it. Me and my son-in-law Curtis spent the whole day digging out and laying stack stones and then putting cap on it. We're 65 bricks short at the moment. So I need another brick in the wall multiple times, but nobody else has any until maybe 2 weeks from now. But it's done enough to keep the dogs out. I'm really happy with it. We ran 2 or 3 high, depending on where it was, and put capstone on it, and then ran some beautiful decorative gravel behind it. When it's all finished, I'll get you guys a video just to show you, but I'm really proud of it. It's a new skill I'd never done before. So reach out, stretch yourself, get a little uncomfortable, try things you haven't done, go to YouTube University and have a hell of a time at it. Next, me and the girls filmed 3 food videos, MRE videos. So 2 of them are the Wheel of MRE. If you haven't seen those yet, I have a lot of fun doing them, and I'm going to keep doing them because that's what I like to do. And people enjoy them. So we just released yesterday a video on we did. Oh man, it was if you haven't watched it yet, maybe you shouldn't, but it was the absolute worst MRE I've ever eaten. It was an oatmeal MRE from the X MRE company. They're a civilian MRE, and their MREs are a bit lackluster to begin with, but it was horrible, guys. And then we finished it up with a Canadian MRE. I'm not going to spoil which one we got. You haven't seen that yet, but the very next, so when it'll be a couple of weeks till the next one comes out, but it redeemed itself. It was a Canadian MRE. So there you go. Guys, I got to tell you something else. Becky and I, as soon as we got back, we had the long weekend here. It was Victoria Day. And so we went up to the daycare on Tuesday. And I've been gone since it opened. I did, a lot of the hard work with Becky, assembling things over quite a few months. But it was mind-blowing to walk into that place and to meet. I think I met 8 staff I've never met before. There was 40-some kids there at that time. Or 30-some kids, sorry. Anyway, we are close to 80% capacity at the moment, and we should be at capacity by July 1st. So lots of parents. We did a slow open, like restaurants do. I forget, it wasn't a real grand opening yet, but we did it slowly so that both the kids and the staff could adjust. And wow, I need to shout out to 4 people. I'm probably forgetting other people, but Tessa, who is our HR administrator, we hired her to be our kind of accountant / bookkeeper, and she's so much more. She took care of so much for us. Our 2 directors, Brandon and Carly, up at the North location, and my daughter Olivia. Oh my goodness, she helped so much doing the cooking up there and filling in for some people. Anyway, it was great. So thank you guys. It's awesome to have good family and good staff, guys. Next, liver and eggs. Yep, no, I don't eat liver, but those are my projects that I'm working on with the freeze dryer since I got back. While I was gone, I got a phone call from my local butcher who said they finally had my 50 pounds of beef liver waiting for me. They freeze it. They cut it into strips about ½ an inch thick. It's perfect to go into the freeze dryer. And so we are going to, I got our first load in there right now, and that's going to be for the dogs. We're going to do treats and maybe package it and sell it ourselves. Not sure yet. And then eggs. So just before the show this evening, my brother-in-law brought me 33 dozen farm fresh eggs. And we're going to scramble them up tonight. We're going to spread them out on trays. We're going to freeze them, and then we're going to freeze dry them. I'm excited. I cannot wait. So yeah, pretty cool. So that's that. Quick story from Telegram the other day. This was, my girls said how much they love hearing my stupid little stories about Telegram, but this was one of the coolest things that have happened. If you're not part of the Telegram group, please join. Come by and hang out with us. You don't have to live there, but the cool thing is you can just touch in and day out as you need to. So the other day, Brian made some offhand comment about driving your tractor. I think it was a song or something, driving a tractor to the bar or something along those lines. And I said, man, that sounds like a country song. So within 2 minutes, maybe 5, I don't know, Brian threw that prompt into Chat GPT and came back with a 4-verse plus a chorus country refrain based on some dude driving his tractor to the bar. And it was incredible. It was hilarious. It was what it was. And about 10 minutes after that, Palm Tree come back, and he used a program called Suni or Sunai. I'll tell you the name. I downloaded the app. It's called Suno AI, SUNOAI. And within probably 20 minutes of the original idea thrown out there, we had a 2-minute recorded version of a country version of the song. It was incredible. It blew me out of the water. It was the weirdest thing. It was such a stupid little example of how incredible technology is, how fast you can communicate and collaborate as a community, and just the ability of people to just do crazy things. So that's what we did. 15,000 subscribers this week, guys. The YouTube channel hit 15,000. It's friggin' incredible. Thank you for everybody who supported. It blows me. I remember 4.5 years ago, about 4 years ago right now, celebrating our 100th subscriber, doing a stupid little video. It was so funny. So anyway, thank you guys for 15,000. Another thing I need to ask you, we've got episode 500 coming up. So today is episode 450. So we're, depending, 20-ish weeks away from the 500th episode. So I really need a suggestion on what we should do. What kind of episode? Because I remember when Nicole Sauce had her 500th, I thought that was an incredible milestone. And I'm pretty proud to be coming up on that. So there you go. Something I didn't share on the show the other night was my numbers from the road trip. And I had them all set out and I was going to share them. I said, I'll share them tonight. So for anybody who wonders, 15,600 kilometers, or 9,700 miles. 70 plus hours of driving, 57 days away from home. I passed through 13 states, spoke 6 times at 5 events, handed out 130 handshake patches, and I built 400 square feet of more usable space at Delinquent's Gully. It was one hell of a trip that I got to share. There was so many highlights, and I won't get into it because I've already shared a ton of it. But man, anyway, thank you to my wife for letting me do that and being my partner in crime on a significant portion of it. So there's the numbers from that. And that is that from this week in the workshop. And I'm going to pop back over to the community chat here and see what we got. Lone Canadian says he is also a few bricks short of a load as well. Yeah, we all seem to be around here. And One Step said, like the last MRE video, you looked to be in pain when you tried the tortilla. It was legitimately bad, folks. The tortilla was so bad. Sam Russell says, I lost 15 pounds in, holy shit, 35 days when my platoon was in Africa living off MREs, ramen and oatmeal. Oh, man. And Bud Conkle says, who doesn't love a Play-Doh taco? Yes, exactly. Oh, it was so bad. Wired Edge says, my vet uses freeze-dried liver treats to keep doggos occupied. I'm excited to try it. Cabot says the song could have been David Allan Coe. Lone Canadian says Vince Gill said she might have took my car keys, but she forgot about my old John Deere. And One Step Closer said 70 hours. That's almost enough time to listen to all of Atlas Shrugged. You're not wrong. And Bud says, great idea. Love the silver. Thank you for that, guys. All right. So next, we are going to get into the Sunshine Prepper news from Willow. Let's bring her up here. We will share. And yeah, I always love what she has to say. So let's dive into what she has to say and go from there, guys.
Hello, and welcome to today's Sunshine. Hello, and welcome to today's Sunshine Prepper News. I'm Willow, the Sunshine Prepper, here to spread a bit of positivity on the unavoidable doom and gloom. Let's kick things off with a good blast of belly laughter to give your brain a boost of endorphins. We're going to turn it up and get lit with laughter by doing 10 seconds today. Yay! All right. First up today is a growing behemoth of a problem that not a lot of people are talking about, but it's causing catastrophic personal SHTF events for thousands of Americans. And that is, dun, 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 insurance going haywire. Rising prices are getting to the point of forcing people out of their homes in several states, but I think Florida is getting a lot of attention for this right now. But is, as almost always the case, California takes the hold my beer position on this. Over there, the legislative landscape has become so unbearable that, like a good neighbor, State Farm is getting the heck up out of there. And this is impacting around 30,000 homes and like 42,000 apartments. And yeah, for the most part, I'm sure these 75,000 or so people will figure it out with other insurance companies, but I bet it won't be cheaper. And I don't know. I can't remember where there are people being forced out of their homes because they can't afford the insurance increase, like on top of mortgage and life expenses. It just seems like another path to sudden unexpected homelessness may be opening up a bit wider. Just something a little noteworthy to keep an eye on. Next up is big enough news that I imagine you heard. Drum roll, assassination attempt on the leader of Slovakia. I think they have a prime minister. It would seem that he was shot at, I think, 4 times, but I think he was only hit once. However the bullet math went, he's stable and is expected to make a full recovery. But whoa, I mean, yeah, he didn't want to sign the World Health Organization's tyrannical new agreement. And yeah, he didn't want to send aid to a country that borders his that rhymes with airplane. It's almost like he's looking out for his country's sovereign interest or something. Really, I know next to nothing about everything that led up to this. It was just some interesting coincidences. So we might have snuck our tin hats on for a moment there. Let's take them off and get into the next news story of the day, which is a quick minor economic update. Hold on to your biscuits, everybody, because Red Lobster is headed to bankruptcy. let's be real, it wasn't the best lobster, but sweet mother of butter, those biscuits will be missed. They were like the savory Cinnabon of complimentary breads. I feel like they aren't free anymore, probably haven't been for a while, just like the $5 footlong is a long lost memory. But they might be able to save a fragment of the Red Lobster ship if they sell off the biscuit recipe. I don't know. All right. Last up today is kind of a personal bone to pick because I was raised in Montgomery County. Now, I had always planned on homeschooling anyways. I can't imagine being a parent under the tyrannical type of entitlement these people feel they have over your kids. So in Montgomery County, a judge has ruled that parents in the county do not have the right to opt their pre-K and elementary school children out of having to read LGBTQ plus books in school. Now, what irks the holy Red Lobster biscuits out of me is that prior to the 2023-2024 school year, these parents had the option to opt out. So a group of parents that's made up of Muslims, Christians, and Jews with the help of a parental rights organization tried to sue, but the judge said, nope. Force feeding homosexuality to your young children does not count as infringing upon your religious freedom. I just can't wrap my head around how this slope got so slippery. Supposedly, the ideology is not coming for your kids, but the action these people take demonstrates it's 1,000% coming for your kids. Why else in the world would you take away the option to opt out? Good grief. It's like if schools were an overnight stay, homeschools, they can range from a tent to a 5-star hotel, depending on the parents, right? While I think at best, public schools nowadays are like that time Luke had to spend the night in the dead Tauntaun. It's like someone who means well stuffed you in there to try to help out. And at the end of the day, that is not how the script was originally meant to go. Well, as I step down from my little soapbox on the tragic state of public education, I want to mention the next epically tragic thing is the size of our nation's beef herd as it continues to drop lower than the lowest recorded numbers, which only go back like 70 years. So stock up. And then I said lastly, but really lastly, keep an eye out because the banking failures and inflation are always kind of right on the horizon. We don't know when things are going to snap. So here's your friendly neighborhood reminder to continue to brace yourself for the future economic shitstorm headed our way. Well, let's wrap things up with 5 more seconds of big belly laughs. All right, then. This week's mission, if you choose to accept it, is to fill a known hole in your pantry. I'm personally down 2 flats of peas and like 2 flats of peanut butter. I've been slacking on a trip to Aldi. We all have holes in our preps. So pick an edible one and set it and forget it. Or well, more like set it and rotate it, but you know what I mean. Thank you so much for tuning in. Wishing you and your family the best. Sunshine Prepper out.
Willow's so incredible, guys. She blows me out of the water with what she puts together, and she is getting better by the week. Not that there was ever a problem with what she did, but you can see her improvement week over week, and I'm really proud of her. She is committed to this. She has put out, I think she was like 4 months in a row before she took a week off. I'm beyond pleased with her stuff. I'm so happy for her. Make sure that you follow her if you haven't yet. Her link is in the description below, but I mean, she's putting this content out there. It's her own channel, but part of the deal was that it would be on our, I committed to 3 months. We're beyond 3 months now, and I'm so happy to have her here. She has a certain infectious joyness that comes about, and yeah, what a great lady. So anyway, give her some support. Make sure you subscribe to her channel too. And yeah, so let's slide into...
It's the apocalypse. End of days. The judgment day. The end of the world, my friend.
Let's dig into community mail. All right, so what I wanted to do here was something a little bit different. I do have some interactions with the community and different things that I had saved up. But this week, I wanted to spotlight 5 folks that I spoke with, one at each event over the last, 8 weeks that I was on the road. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to use this to kind of spotlight how we can build on the circular economy just a little bit. And if you're wondering if someone within our extended communities has something for sale that you're looking for, the answer is yes. All you need to do is ask. Sometimes you have to look a little harder. Sometimes you'll have to pay more for the quality, but wouldn't you rather pay a little bit more to get a quality product from a person that you know is in line with what you believe? I think so. So 5 quick stories, 5 quick people to highlight here in the community nail bag. Number 1, way back in March, holy cow, that feels like a lifetime ago, Kentucky Sustainable Living. I met a young lady, her name was Haley, and she has her own little business called Nails by Haley, a Facebook page and everything. You can find her under Nails by Haley, Haylee. And she is Melissa's I was going to call her granddaughter. No, Melissa doesn't have grandchildren. Melissa's daughter-in-law. And what an incredible lady. And so anyway, we met there. She showed me her nails. I was like, man, those are incredible. When my daughter Charlotte gets down, I bet she'll want to come and see you. So Charlotte loves her nails done. So we made an appointment. I took her to, it was 2 towns over from Camden, and Charlotte got her nails done. Just a simple little way to support someone else in the community. So if you're in kind of that Camden area, then check her out. She has a nail salon. Not that I get my nails did, but my daughter definitely wanted to. AJ Harrison, met him for the first time at Self-Reliance Festival. He sat with us at the VIP dinner. He paid the bucks to be at the VIP dinner. What a great dude. He launched a product at SRF called Simmerwell Bone Broth. And the link to that will be in the description as well. I don't want to run out of it, but I've been drinking it probably 2 or 3 mornings a week. I love it. He has a slew of freeze dryers that he is taking his own bone broth and freeze drying it down to an instant powder. And then he packages it up in individual, I'm not going to call them baggies. They're incredible looking packages. And you can buy them individual or as a case. And they're so tasty. So if you're looking for instant bone broth, AJ Harrison, Simmerwell Bone Broth is what it's called. And his stuff is awesome. Oh my goodness. Now, LFTN. I was like, who am I going to pick at LFTN? But when it comes down to it, I had to pick my buddy, Patrick Rohrman. If you don't know Patrick, when you're at LFTN or even at SRF and places like that, you're going to see a lot of people with a neck knife just like this. And it's the Genesis. And I bought it from Patrick before I'd met Patrick in real life. We'd chatted a few times, but we've hit it off. The dude came to Delinquent's Gully and cooked me a steak and made us homemade guacamole. But either way, if you're looking to buy a knife from somebody that you know aligns with your values and makes a good product, go to mtknives.net. Patrick's just, what an awesome dude. Now, at the Mountain Readiness Expo in Harmony, North Carolina, I met a dude there named Sean of mark37.com. We hit it off. We sat around one evening with Joel and Wendy and Becky and Sean, and we smoked cigars and drank bourbon, and we talked about business. And Sean is into de-Googled phones and digital sovereignty. So I ended up buying a de-Googled phone from him. I paid market value. He didn't give it to me for any discount whatsoever. And I turned it into my own American burner phone. So I now have an American phone number that I'm just testing out as a de-Googled phone to see how it'll work. And he set me up, he's helping me out with it. He's coming on the show this Sunday night, and we're going to talk about the importance of digital privacy as I live stream on the internet, of course. And he's going to talk about a whole bunch of other things. So bring your questions about de-Googled devices, bring your questions about digital sovereignty and privacy, and give him some support. And then finally, at the Two Chicks Homestead, I mentioned Nate and Aaron multiple times in the last few days. We had a meet up there. It was, kind of a workshop, Two Chicks conglomeration. And I get to spend some real quality time with a good friend of mine, Amy Dingman, who is back in the swing of full-time content creation after deciding that working out in the public just didn't fit her jam anymore. So if you've never followed Amy, and Amy has been doing this way longer than I have, and she's been a sponsor of the show in the past, go to afarmishkindoflife.com, and she has an awesome podcast. Again, she's the type that can give you the hard news while smiling and make you say, yeah, you're right. I really do need to do that. But she's just a great lady all around. And yeah, she's building her content back up. She never left, but she's ready to go all in on it again. So there you go. So gives Amy some, some workshop love as well. So there you go, folks. What a great episode. I love doing these with you guys. They're, I mean, I love a lot of things, but there's very few things that I love more than sitting down in my office and talking to myself. No, I'm just kidding anyway. But no, I love coming down here. We topped out tonight at just, I think it was 29 or 30 live viewers, which is great. I just see the average amount of folks that are coming in here just kind of has been slowly creeping up over the last few months, and kind of the sustained number is what makes me so excited. I love seeing folks in here. I just love having the community that we can build around. I think back to 4.5 years ago when I talked about a community that didn't exist. You know, it's all about speaking something into existence and then putting a hell of a lot of work behind it for sure. But what do we got coming up this weekend? Really, just this weekend, I guess. Well, we're definitely back on the regular schedule for the time being. Actually, we're going to be back on it for a while because I'm not hitting the road for a hell of a long time. I did maybe mention, but I am going to be at Self-Reliance Festival this year. No road trips. We are going to fly down for a few days. We're going to do a couple of work days at Delinquents Gully. So anybody who wants to meet us there, I would love to see you. And then I'll be emceeing and speaking at SRF, and then we'll be hitting the plane and coming straight back. So tomorrow, guys, I'm going to try. I'm working at putting 2 pieces of kind of review / pre-recorded content out a week to be, anyway, we're going to let the market dictate what works. But so we did the MRE Wheel of MRE video earlier this week. And now tomorrow there is going to be a review of the Fire Maple Jet Boil Stove. And I'm pretty sure it's Byron that has asked me before about doing it. And I just spent 2 months using it as my kind of main source of cooking and that sort of thing in Tennessee. And I loved it. Spoiler alert. So there's about a 6-minute review coming up tomorrow. So check that out. And then Sunday evening, 6 p.m. will be my live guest, Sean Trio from Mark 37. And he's, like I said, he's going to come on. Hey, Byron says, yes, it was me. I don't know how this old man brain remembered that, Byron, but I appreciate you with the suggestion there. But yes, so that review is coming out tomorrow, and I think it's going to do quite well. So Sunday, 6 p.m., Sean Trio from mark37.com. He's coming on to chat about de-Googled phones. He's going to help me set up my burner phone and answer questions about privacy and tech. It's going to be a hell of a time. And yeah, beyond that, I think we've got her all covered for this evening. Just a great time to be back with you guys. So, keep coming by. If you haven't joined the Telegram group and you want to, go ahead. But if not, keep seeing me here. I'll be here, and we'll keep doing what we're doing. So anyway, guys, thanks for being incredible delinquents. Thanks for allowing me to build a content creation conglomeration. I think I've used that word 4 times tonight. I don't know why it's been on my tongue, but thanks for letting me take 2 months to travel the world. By the world, I mean, kind of the southeastern United States, make connections to bring back to the show, because I've got right now 4 interviews lined up over the next couple of weeks that came directly from, interviews and conversations I had at events. And I've got a list of 40 people that I'm going to bring on this show that I have met or interacted with at those 5 events. So I'm looking forward to it. But thanks for giving me that flexibility. Thanks for letting me go down and work on Delinquents Gully like I did. And with that, folks, we will see you Sunday evening. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy. Oh, have a great week. But before we do that, make sure you stick with it and check out this brand new outro that was made by Rebecca from Red Flyer Media. And I got to say, I love it. I won't normally come back on after an outro, but damn, that was fire. I loved it. Thanks, Rebecca, and see you guys later.